And the nice thing was, it wasn't strange, it was beautiful, was that nobody ever slept there. Everyone who could not live in their homes had neighbors or friends who took them in. So they didn't have anybody that had to go to the Crystal Lake High School for housing.
Do you remember?
And as people emerged from the storm, many could only wander around in stunned disbelief. Mrs. Charles Finger in the open kitchen of her home, and her husband and son are in the living room. This woman has been identified as Mrs. Charles Oberlin. Broken trees, shattered homes, and debris littered the ground. And Mrs. Gerald Michaels of 90 Union Street sobs in hopelessness. But we were not alone. The U.S. Weather Bureau reported 37 twisters injured thousands of people. Property damage was in the millions of dollars. And those are the fatalities throughout the Midwest on that same day. Crystal Lake needed help, and it needed help fast. In 1965, Al Preerhammer was the director of civil defense. Harry Dillon was appointed director of housing. In this interview, Harry describes how many of the victims were provided temporary housing until their homes could be rebuilt.
At the time of the tornado, Civil Defense set up a headquarters at Central High School. And I was on the telephone at the time. I was manning the telephone at the time a call came in from a gentleman who introduced himself as the president of the Illinois Mobile Homes Association. And they were meeting in convention at the Holiday Inn of Springfield and had heard the news about the tornado. I wondered if there was anything they could do for us. Everybody wanted to help. So I said, well, what did you have in mind? He said, what do you need? Could you use some temporary housing? Well, we had been discussing temporary housing and what we were going to do about it. And I indicated we definitely could. And he said that his membership collectively would supply some mobile homes, apparently used secondhand mobile homes that they had in stock. And could we use a half a dozen? I said we could probably use somewhere in the neighborhood of 90. Our estimates were that we had 100 wipeouts and another 17 or 18 that were beyond occupancy, not fit for occupancy. So he said, let me see what I can do and I'll get back to you. He did call, not too long after that, to indicate they had just at the meeting pulled together 90 units, or 96 or 7. And so we had to make a determination. I told him, come ahead, we'd work it out. He asked if we had a dealer locally, and I said we had had a gentleman running a mobile home park at Ridgefield, and he said it would be necessary to have someone like him available to spot and connect up the units. We had a meeting with Al Roth, who was then the city manager of Crystal Lake, as to how we might set up a mobile home park temporarily. And the first thought was to park them in a field that was directly behind Central High School. Then, of course, the question came up, how do you get sewer and water to them? Are we going to run temporary services? And of course, the city had an ordinance prohibiting mobile homes. So the first thing to do was to get the city council together and pass a temporary relief to that ordinance so we could even bring them in. Then we decided a good move would be to try to set the units on the properties where the homes had been destroyed. And remembering what we needed were vacant lots with available sewer and water. And this, in effect, is what you had, plus a foundation. So that was the route we took. They delivered the units over to the high school parking lot, and our friend, I can't remember his name, from Ridgefield, moved them and set them in the driveways of the various homes on a selected basis. We prioritized the needs. And they set up a 4x4 riser to handle the electric service, which could be transferred to the house as soon as it was reconstructed. And we ran a flexible plastic pipe in through basement windows to the sewer to connect the trailer's sewage system. And conversely, so they connected a garden hose from the basement laundry tray back to the mobile home for water supply.
And here's one of the families that benefited from that donation of mobile homes. The Russell F. Beckers of 70 Mary Lane were able to remain on their property and oversee the rebuilding of their home. The Red Cross organized clothing distribution to victims. The Red Cross again demonstrated its immediate and efficient operation. To the left is Margaret Jenner, long and active and tireless worker for the Red Cross, directing food preparation at the high school. And Girl Scouts showed up to serve food to disaster victims at the high school. When Chuck Aldridge, owner of the Pantry Restaurant, learned of the tornado and could finally get through the traffic, he opened his restaurant at 5:30 Palm Sunday evening and stayed open all night to serve the many workers and tornado victims. The Crystal Lake Herald reports that 45 dozen eggs were served at the Pantry Restaurant Monday morning, the 12th. Food was provided free to known tornado victims. The Crystal Lake Police Department had their hands full. Help came from many neighboring communities. The Illinois State Police trooper was posted to prevent looting. Fortunately, there was very little looting reported. Community leaders immediately set up to work to establish a tornado relief fund to aid victims. Many businesses offered their own form of assistance. For example, Moats TV and Appliance warned victims not to plug in appliances before they were checked. Reduced prices were offered for repairs. Wade Shoes and Don and Lou's Children's Shop offered free